Okay, Dr. Tracy here. Let's talk about structures. Ooh, COMPSCI 2, structures. You might have learned in previous use of C++ how to create functions where we group statements together. Structures are very similar to that, but also tagging along to pointers and arrays or so forth. We group a single type together using a shared name. We would create that as an array. But if we wanted to group a bunch of stuff together that isn't of the same type, we define a structure. So we define a structure with a struct reserved word, struct street address. In the case of a street address, it has a house number and has a street name. One's an integer and one's a string. And since we want to keep those together and establish the relationship between the two, we can create a struct. So that means that whenever we're going to have a street address, it's automatically going to have these other two data values. This is similar to a function in that we're finding data members, but it's not similar to a function because a function does something. Structs don't do anything. They just exist, like a street address, just exists. And when we have structs, we assign those values, but we use those values as the object that we created and a dot syntax in order to see if the value is the same. So we can't compare two structures for equality is the problem, because we're actually using pointers with the creation of structures to go find associated addresses and return the value. And so if you're going to use that, you have to find the whole structure because it needs to find the location and be able to dereference that value. When you initialize a structure, it can be similar to the way you initialize an array. You can set each of those values, and then you can assign them. The values should be set there. The structure should be defined in the beginning of a program, or referenced at least, so it can be defined elsewhere. When you establish structures that they are used, we can create those structures and use them as arguments and as return values that come out of functions. So instead of having just elements, just in the same way that we can use arrays as parameters or arguments or return values from a function, we can use structures. So now we can use this mixed data typing to make use of values that move around from one place to another. You can also create arrays of structures, like an array that would be one that keeps street addresses that have numbers and street names. By creating an array, we can have an array and then set each value associated by its index to the value that we want it to be, as you can see here in this example. When we create structure members, we can even have arrays within the structure itself. So like in this one, monthly temperatures of a place called Furnace Creek has got several values for temperatures. And again, we're using efficient use of data. This is the beginning to what will be data structures. And establishing structures allows you to put pieces together that you'll be able to use and modify later, depending on how they're going to be used. There are some practices there. Maybe this is something you could work on. Ask me any questions. Let me know if you need some help to understand this material. Talk to you soon.